So today I'll finally be getting to reviewing Krapp's last tape. I feel that the play, first of all, requires a grasp on both Beckett and absurdism, theater of the absurd, neither of which I really had a grasp of. Now I feel that I'm much more acquainted with those, so I feel that I have a much greater understanding and retrospective of the play. Beckett never so much states as muses on things, and with the absurd it's very much an introspection into senility, the sense of discontinuity, temporal isolation, aging, and it's very much, nothing is very explicit or very split into sections. It's all very much just dragging on, so you have very much a feeling of all those things. First, a word or two about the actual stage. I'm going to go at this pretty much sequentially, and most likely referring to Causen's 13 sign system. Now, the venue was a large-ish stage, only very little of which is used for the actual staging of the play. You have a very, you have a kind of mild spotlight, just a lamp. There's no external lighting, it's all from inside the play. And you just have the lamp just shining a very kind of mild spotlight, not very defined, on the table where Krapp is sitting. And this immediately creates a sense of that isolation, of very much this blurring out of everything and the sense of isolation. The stage itself, I feel, is quite important because it immediately creates that sense of isolation and of Krapp very much being alone in his world. There's no external world, there's no door to an outside or anything. So it's very much just the table. As for something like the way he speaks, it's very much a slow but not calculated way of speaking. It's very much like he's still experimenting with words, still kind of feeling them over. In particular, his obsession with the word spool, a lot of pausing, a lot of very slow, very slow gestures, which in a way gives it a lot of power and really does command your attention. But there's also a sense of very much being lulling and hypnotized, and of this very much lack of energy. Then as for the actor's look itself is quite interesting, it should be noted, because there's a sense of being kind of clownish and ragged. His hands in particular feel kind of very halfway limp, although they're very powerful hands. And you have this impression of very much senility and of time kind of working on Krapp to give him this kind of... he seems to lose his importance. He seems to very much, instead of being very attention commanding as a character, he seems very much to be weary and yeah, just all those things, you know. He seems to be losing his power by time. His virility especially. You constantly get references to women he was with, the banana skit especially is quite mildly comical, which kind of makes sense seeing his look. It's kind of like he's being toyed with time. But the banana skit, yeah, is quite comical, but it's also that there is this sense of being halfway pathetic, and of him very much being reduced to this kind of senility where he's very much musing over what he used to have and being this very much kind of losing his normal state of mind. And it's also, the tapes especially are quite a good device. He constantly has these tapes where you get this feeling of temporal discontinuity, his memory failing him, and generally the sense of time passing, this kind of a moment ceases to be after it is, and just this kind of emptiness after that moment, you know? This spotlight, you can actually see it as being just a point in time, and anything outside it is just non-existing. And also there's this very much a sense of repetition in the tape, of reaffirming what he used to have, but how it's kind of being lost in time, so that you have, so that is very much a very strong way of conveying the absurd of the play. It's quite interesting because we're now looking at world theater traditions, and you see that very much with theater traditions there's very little innovation by the artist, you don't act as an interpreter but merely as a conveyor of the original playwright's intentions. And this is especially seen in Krapp's last tape, because Beckett is so intricate and very much explicit in his directions that there's very little room for the performer to change anything. Miss McInnes, my theater teacher, for example, said that she saw a performing of this play about 20 years ago or whatever it was in Poland, so this is this is quite a long distance away from London to Poland. And that the staging was exactly the same. So you get very much a sense of there being an authority as with tradition, and of it being a very established thing, very final. And I find this quite interesting. I mean, yeah, you even have references like 10 seconds, loud pop of cork, 15 seconds. He comes back into lights carrying an old ledger and sits down at the table. He lays ledger on table, wipes mouth, wipes his hand on front of his waistcoat, brings them smartly together, and rubs them. Oh yes, it's also that his clothes are kind of worn. Yeah, everything just kind of points to him, kind of this decadence, and him kind of being toyed by time, of losing his virility, losing his memory, losing everything. And in that, it's a very persuasive play that doesn't really need to make a point. It's very much just amusing, but it's very powerful because of that. It very much immerses you in its points. Anything else? Appearance of stage has been covered. Actors' external appearance, expression of body, inarticulate sounds. That's quite an interesting one. There are very little sound effects. I'd say that a very persuasive sound effect combined with gesture would be the fact that he shuffles his feet, which is quite interesting to note. It's not very much a sound in itself, but it very much alludes to his transformation as a character, very much a loss of energy, this kind of sapping, this loss of very much a very articulated, stout kind of form. So that's another point for him. And I feel Michael Gambon overall, if we're now going to talk about him, conveys this very powerfully. He's a very powerful actor. He's very commanding of the stage. He's able to... He's got very much a stamina. I mean, he did the monologue twice that day, and this is about a 15-minute monologue, which is quite a respectable thing, I feel. And for that, I feel that this is a great play, really. Thank you.